What I'm going to do with this last video is go through exercise 13.5, which you can find on page 8. This is determining density of seawater. And we're going to use a graph again to do this. Notice we've got two givens already: salinity, which for all four possibilities is 30 parts per thousand, and temperature, which is in degrees Celsius. And you can see on the far right hand side that we are solving for density using this graph on page 9. Take a look at this graph, open that up. All right, now you can see on the left hand side density in grams per cubic centimeter, and notice that the numbers are going to increase as you go from the bottom to the top, and these lines are going horizontally across the graph. I just highlighted 1.010, 1.015, 1.020, and 1.025, which is grams per cubic centimeter. So in a way, this is how much the water weighs, okay? And now, just like on the previous graph, you can see that there are other horizontal lines. In this case, they're in increments of 1 as you go from the bottom to the top. So we have 1.010. That's followed by, as you go up the graph, 1.011, 1.012, 1.013, 1.014, then of course 1.015, then 1.016, and so on. Okay, you can see that, I hope. Is that correct? Good. Now you can see that I circled the numbers that are in the middle of the graph, which correspond with those lines that cut obliquely across the graph from bottom left to top right. This is degrees Celsius. Notice the numbers are flipped from what they were on the last graph, but that's all right. 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, 20 degrees, and 25 degrees. And notice down at the bottom, we have salinity in parts per thousand, 10, 20, 30, 40, and again, halfway between 30 and 40 is 35, and if you were looking at 32, you kind of have to interpolate this a little bit, all right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to solve for the bottom of these, which means if you look, so I'm not making up a new one, I'm going to use the one that's on there. We have salinity at 30 parts per thousand, and the temperature of that water is 10 degrees Celsius. What is the density? Well, we go back to the graph. I just highlighted 10 degrees Celsius, the line that corresponds to 10 degrees Celsius that is now highlighted in blue. See that? It's cutting across the graph from the bottom left to the top right. That's 10 degrees Celsius, that line. And we know that the salinity is 30 parts per thousand. So I draw the red line up from 30 parts per thousand. And again, you can see where these two lines meet, right there where the yellow arrow is at. We're going to draw a line across. And now we can see that when the temperature of the water is 10 degrees Celsius and the salinity is 30 parts per thousand, we know the density is 1.023 grams per cubic centimeter, which is what you would then enter right there at the bottom. Okie dokie. Good luck.